A Tiger's Wedding, My Childhood in Exile, written and read by Isla Blair. Chapter 1. Telling the Bees. I banged my sandals together to shake out any cockroaches or scorpions. The gesture an automatic reflex, like saying bless you when someone sneezed. I pulled them on and ran after Fiona, my older sister, who I knew had started the day's little rituals and routines without me. I followed her like a shadow. I was still in my cotton pyjamas, rolling up the legs as I scrambled down the steps of the veranda and out to the bees. There was a little wooden hive for them, with a gently sloping roof painted white, the brittle paint coming off in my fingers when I picked at it. Fiona was already there, in her pyjamas and white plimsolls, stretching out her hands for any of the stray, buzzing creatures to land on her. Neither of us were afraid of bees. They only stung when alarmed, and besides they held our secrets, the big ones and the little ones. Our mother had told us that the bees had to know all the significant things that happened in our lives, otherwise they'd feel insulted and fly away. Like when Fiona was born, and when Mummy was expecting me, or when the boy's fifth child, a little girl, had simply not woken up from sleep one day. I told them how desolate and lonely I felt when Fiona had been sent away to school, how the pain in my chest had become like a solid rock that threatened to rise up into my throat and choke me. I was born in Bangalore, South India, where my father was stationed during the war in the last dying days of the Raj. He was a tea planter in Kerala, as was his father before him, and I lived there with him and my sister Fiona, 3.5 years older than me, my mother, and our beloved Aya. In fact, our Raj days were very much alive, golden, secure, full of sunshine and laughter, with the scent of the pine and eucalyptus in the air, and the ever-present tea, and far away, the trumpeting of elephants. There was a bubbly feeling inside me, part excitement, part apprehension, because I knew things were about to change. We'd been telling the bees for days now that we were going home. They were probably heartily sick of hearing about it, but we told them again anyway. We always started our days with a visit to the bees. Not in the monsoon, of course. The leeches put us off, as we knew they would be lying in wait for us, creeping over our socks and into our shoes. The monsoon and the dry season governed and set out our days that had a routine to them, punctured only by little unexpected happenings. There had recently been a large unexpected happening in the shape of a 7-foot periapamba, a python, thankfully dead, which we'd seen carried between 2 poles by a group of 6 excitedly chattering men. Daddy came out as the creature was deposited on the steps of the veranda. He thanked the men, paid them what was expected, and remarked on the python's beautiful markings. It didn't look very beautiful to me. I thought it looked horrible, all fat and grey-brown, and it had this strange, musky, powdery, earthy smell, sour and dusty. If I had wondered what Daddy was going to do with it, I didn't have to wonder long. It was taken to the tanner in Munnar town, where it was immortalised into a wallet for him and shoes and a handbag that Mummy wore reluctantly. Fiona and I were appalled. Dry, the python's skin felt scaly and rough, and the markings looked ugly and snaky. We implored our mother to give them away. One day, when I was very little, we were out walking, my sister, my mother, Aya and me. I think I was about 3 years old, and my sandalled feet stood on the head of a small, surprised snake that curled itself round my leg. Panic gave voice to shrieks and shouts from Mummy, Aya and Fiona, filled with alarm and concern, for the snake, although small, was the exceedingly poisonous one called a krite. It didn't bite me, but the reaction of my 3 loved and trusted companions filled me with proper fear. I was unable for days to be put on the floor. I had to be carried, rigid everywhere. I couldn't trust my feet to be on the ground. Snakes, I don't like them. I fear them. I don't like the way they move, how they seek out dark corners. I don't like their eyes, the fact that they don't blink. I don't like their tongues. I don't like snakes at all. Even a picture of a snake in a book makes me shudder. Each morning, we would get out of bed, bang our shoes together, and blinking hard to get used to the brightness of the light, we would run through the red canna lilies to the swing that hung from the lime tree.